Alright guys, today I'm going to be giving you my top 10 amusement parks I have been to as of the end of 2023. I've been to over 40 parks at this point if you count mountain resorts and alpine coasters, which some don't, but I do. And I haven't been to quite as many as the really big enthusiasts, but I've been to definitely a good amount. And before we get started, gotta give a shout out to Canada's Wonderland, Carowinds, and Universal's Islands of Adventure. Islands of Adventure I just haven't been to in 10 years. And then Carowinds, I definitely think it's a bit overrated. Same with Canada's Wonderland. So with that being said, let's get into the list. Number 10 is Six Flags New England. Obviously, the big reason this park is this high is because of the phenomenal top two. Superman the Ride, while the restraints obviously aren't good and the second half is a bit weak, is still a phenomenal hypercoaster by Intamin. And then Wicked Cyclone is a mid to upper tier RMC. You've also got a decent supporting cast with Batman being a okay floorless coaster, a bit underrated. You've got Rizzler's Revenge, definitely the best SLC there. Joker, I love free spins, so that's really good. Pandemonium, Thunderbolt, it's not a bad collection. It gets fairly busy here, so that kind of sucks sometimes. The atmosphere is pretty good, so overall not a bad park for sure. Number 9 is Knoebels. This really is one of the most charming parks I've been to, maybe the most charming. It's got this quiet, laid-back feel that you really only get at a true campground. And I know you've got Darien. That does not feel even anything close to Knoebels. That is a completely different feeling. That feels like an amusement park. This thing actually feels like a camp resort. And you've got two great Woodies. Phoenix is obviously really high in my rankings. And then Twister is also a decent Woody. Impulse, well, it's not as good as the Eurofighters in my opinion. It's still a fun ride for sure. Flying Turns is really unique when it's open. And then you got a few really good flat rides, including Flyers and Rocco Planes, two of my personal favorites. So yeah, overall, Knoebels, really good and definitely the best free entry park. Number 8 is King's Dominion. This park, similar to Six Flags New England in that it's really only this high because of two coasters, those being I-305 and Twisted Timbers. Obviously, I-305 is in my top 3, and Twisted Timbers is definitely a lower middle tier RMC, but still a very fun ride. Then you've got a bit of a better supporting class than New England, in my opinion. Dominator is the best floorless coaster, in my opinion. You've got Tumbioli, Flight of Fear, decent premier rides. Spaghetti Bull Coaster, Backlot, another premier launch coaster. So, the supporting cast is a bit better. And the atmosphere is really good, especially in Jungle Expedition. That's the best part of any Cedar Fair park. So overall, King's Dominion's a really nice place to go, especially for Intimidator 305. Number 7 is Busch Gardens Williamsburg. There was actually a point where I said this was honestly the best park I've been to. Yeah, that's definitely not the case. I realize Pantheon's a great coaster, but it's not ultra elite. You've got Alpengeist, which is my favorite invert personally. Then you drop down to Apollo's Chariot, the weakest B&M Hyper, and that's a pretty big gap between Alpengeist and Apollo. Then you got great rides like Griffin, Verbolten, Invader, and Tempesto, Loch Ness. That's pretty much it. I know they have Dark Coaster now, but yeah, back when I went, they didn't have that. It is still a really beautiful park, although Festa Italia, yeah, that place definitely isn't the greatest to look at, around Pantheon, Apollo, Tempesto. Overall, it can get pretty crowded there, I felt like. I didn't get as many rides as I could have potentially. That might have been just because it was a really nice summer day, but anyways, it's still an amazing park, but there's definitely better parks out there. Number 6 is Dollywood. Definitely debating between this and Busch Gardens Williamsburg, but I had to put Dollywood ahead just because Lightning Rod's such a better ride than Pantheon, in my opinion. Lightning Rod's in my top 5, even though they completely ruined the ride apparently because the launch is weaker. Nah, that thing is still incredible. Still some of the strongest craziest ejector airtime you'll ever feel, honestly, especially on that quad down, because, yeah, you just can't beat that at night. And the rest of the coasters here are great, too. You got Thunderhead, which is in my top 20. Tennessee Tornadoes, the only good aero coaster that's not X2. You've got Wild Eagle, in my opinion, the better of the two wing coasters I've been on. And just so many other great rides here. And, of course, the atmosphere is really good, too. You've got a ton of great shows. You've got cinnamon bread, like top-tier food here. So overall, yeah, I love Dollywood. It's just the top 5 parks have clearly better coaster collections, which number 5 is the park with more coasters than any in the world. It's Six Flags Magic Mountain. This park has definitely gotten beefed up since the last time I've been, which is 2019. But when I went, they had a great top 2 with X2 and Twisted Colossus, a mid-tier RMC, and X2 being just a crazy fourth dimension coaster from Alan Schilke with some... It definitely has its flaws, but it's also a completely insane ride. Then you got other great supporting coasters such as Tatsu, Goliath, Full Throttle, Batman, and the flat rides here are actually kind of good too. You got Lex Luthor, Crazanity, Justice League, a phenomenal dark ride, and overall, the atmosphere here is a lot better than most people say. It's actually probably the nicest looking Six Flags park, in my opinion. Yes, it's hilly, but that kind of adds to it, just being surrounded by that hill. Overall, wasn't very crowded when I went, so that helped. Yeah, Six Flags Magic Mountain, I hear, isn't really the best operationally, but hey, I got every single ride I did on Twisted Colossus was a duel, so I can't complain. So yeah, definitely a great park. Number 4 is Kings Island. I definitely was going to put this a lot lower. Like, if you would have asked me a couple weeks ago when I just wasn't really thinking, but I thought about it. This park really doesn't have any flaws besides it doesn't have a true elite coaster. I mean, Beast is incredible, holds a special place in my heart. You've got 2 massive B&Ms with Diamondback and Orion. Diamondback being my second favorite B&M Hyper, and Orion being the second best Giga, honestly closer to Fury than most people say. And Banshee, that's another phenomenal top 3 B&M invert for me. You've got Mystic Timbers, my number 2 GCI, which I know isn't much considering it goes Thunderhead, Mystic, Lightning Racer. So that's something. But overall, you've just got such a deep supporting cast. I mean, in Vertigo, Racer, Backlot, Flight of Fear, it just keeps going on. Flat rides are good too. Operations are top notch. Atmosphere's good. Like, overall, it's just a really well-rounded park. It just needs that superstar. Number 3 is Cedar Point. This seems like everyone's favorite park, and I get it. I really do. It's just a lot of the rides don't hit for me. The 4 B&Ms here, they definitely could be better. The best of them being Raptor, which in my opinion is either the third or second best B&M invert, depending on what day you ask me. But the other 3 definitely don't do much for me, especially Rougarou. That's just meh. Magnum, for some reason I didn't find the airtime to be that crazy, although Runaway Mine Train really hit for me this year at Great Adventure. So I have a feeling Magnum will definitely shoot up in my rankings when I get back on it. Top Thrill, I mean, it was fun while it lasted, but I don't know, King Daka's way better. Millennium Force is definitely the weaker of the 2 Intamin Gigas, definitely not even close to my top 25. Then you got Maverick and Steel Vengeance, the clear top 2. Maverick being in my top 10 and Vengeance being sometimes in my top 3, depending on what day you ask me. And yeah, overall that really carries the park. The atmosphere really isn't that good. Food's kind of eh. The lines are ridiculous to deal with. So overall, Cedar Point, it has a phenomenal coaster collection. Don't get me wrong, but it could be a lot better. Like, number 2 is Hershey Park. And I feel like this is really what Cedar Point should be. They've also got a crazy RMC, which is in my top 3, Wildcat's Revenge, as their star. And then they got another crazy Intamin, like barely in my top 10, that's Sky Rush. Then you've got such a deep supporting cast. This is where Hershey gets the huge advantage over Cedar Point. You've got Stormrunner, Fahrenheit, Comet, Lightning Racer, Candemonium, Great Bear, Remix. I mean, it just keeps going on. The quality is so good here in the supporting cast. Like, definitely the best supporting cast of any park. And then operations, they're hit or miss. I used to think they had like the best operations, and now I realize that's just on a couple rides. Because Candemonium and Sky Rush, you don't want to get stuck in those lines, that's for sure. Food is obviously top notch. Atmosphere is really good. I mean, it's hard to beat this, but there is one park that does it for me. And if you know me, you probably can figure it out. It's Six Flags Great Adventure. Does it have the best coaster collection in the world? Objectively, I don't think so. It's got the best top four in the world, I would say, with El Toro being my number one, King Ka being my number 8, and then Nitro being in the top 25, and Devil being a really good coaster, just barely out of the top 25. But after that, you got Batman the Ride, Mine Train, Joker. It's a fun... those are all fun rides, but nothing like the top four. That's definitely going to be helped by Flash next year and whatever they get in 2025, hopefully. So that'll definitely make this by far the best park in the world, in my opinion. But it already is, because they've got such a good flat ride collection. I mean, they've got Justice League, Cyborg, Wonder Woman, Zumanjaro, Twister, Houdini, Skyscreamer. I mean, this is one of the best flat ride collections in the world for sure. And yes, operations are really good most of the time. Yes, the coaster collection is really good, but that's not what makes the park. What makes the park is the fact that you're never going to face any lines here, I swear. I did 2 trips. I did one in the middle of July weekends, because it was for my birthday, and then in the middle of November, just random weekend in November. So the November one, I was kind of expecting short lines, but not that short. Not just sit in your seat, do whatever you want for the entire day short. And then even in July weekends, sunny, it was absolutely deserted. I couldn't believe it. It's phenomenal how you're never going to have to wait for anything here. I absolutely love it. The park's probably not loving it, but I am. Atmosphere, food, I couldn't care less that it's not that good. The fact that you could just sit down and ride El Toro and pretty much not leave the station for the entire day, that makes it my number 1 park right there. So, yeah, let me know what you guys thought of this list down in the comments below. What opinions you thought you would change around, and what opinions I actually got right, because probably wouldn't be many for many people. But, yeah, let me know what you guys thought of this down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.